They can't see you yet.
Okay.
Or hear you.
Okay.
I'll wait for Kara to give an introduction.
Okay.
I got one more minute here, I think. So. Kara, I'll wait for you to do an intro or whatever you want to do.
All right, everybody. Michigan State has their 3 games in 5 days before we head into the break. Starting with Central Michigan at 5 o'clock on Friday. So we will go start with questions for Coach Merchant. Just hop in the chat and let me know if you have a question. All right, we will start with Natalie Kerwin.
Hey Coach, your team is off to a great start. You opened Big Ten play 2-0 for the first time since the 2013-14 season. Talk about what your team has going on right now, the chemistry amongst the women.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of, really paying attention, one, to the scouting report on both sides of the ball, and I think they've been very engaged that way. I think we have some experienced players this year, certainly led by Nia Clouden, our all-conference performer, but, have some kids stepping up in different roles that have really embraced that. And maybe a little bit of the adjustment in our offense has certainly helped, attack a different kind of way. So I think that's helped us with our success at this point.
And we'll go next to Audrey Dahlgren.
Hi Suzy,
Hey.
having a good day today. Wanted to kind of ask you more about Eliza, just because she's really starting to hit her stride, it seems like. I know you wanted to see more out of her this year. So kind of like the 1-2 punch combination with her and Nia, and how that's really just helped you so far, especially in Big Ten play.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Eliza's done an amazing job. I think she needed that opportunity and that confidence to kind of do what she did. And, I think a lot of that is something we've wanted to see out of her. And certainly she's taken the most and made the most out of her opportunity. I think with Eliza and Nia's a really good attack the basket slasher, as you know, primarily. She has her pull-up jumper and the 3-ball as well now. But as you know, she's more a slash first kid, which I think really sets things up and opens up your outside when someone drives and attacks the basket. So having that combination, Eliza's a really good shooter. Now, Eliza can put the ball on the floor too and hit her pull-up. So they're both really complete players. I just think they really complement each other. Eliza's probably a better 3-point shooter than Clouden, and vice versa. Clouden's a better driver than Eliza. So I think the combination of those two really connect on the court, and they seem to be finding each other and playing well together.
How does their demeanor too, maybe in the way that they both carry themselves, help them click in that aspect? Because they both seem to be like players that are pretty calm, cool, and collected, and don't get rattled too much when they're out there on the floor.
Right. Well, I think that's one thing about the two of them is that probably breeds a lot of confidence in our team. When, for example, when we're up, I think we were up almost 20 at Minnesota. They came down and the Hubbard kid hit a few shots. They cut it to 11, I believe. And we just kind of built back up. Like you could see that the demeanor of Eliza, the demeanor of Nia, they both have a little bit of ice in their veins. Not much rattles them. Sometimes I'd love to see them chest bump a little more and get a little more animated. But at the same time, I think our team kind of feeds off the fact that they're the same, regardless of if it's the first shot they take in the game or the game-winning shot. You're not going to see a whole lot of difference. And I think consistency in anything in life anymore helps. And so I think that you know what you're going to get when it comes to Eliza and Nia's personalities and how they approach the game.
And then if I could ask one more
Sure.
about Eliza. Why is she like that? I mean, why is she maybe a little bit more calm and doesn't get too rattled? Where does that come from her? Where did that get instilled, I guess, maybe?
Well, you got to meet her dad. I think it starts there. I mean, I used to, I've watched her play forever, as you know, and recruiting her, her dad is always kind of alone by himself. sometimes even watch the game in sunglasses. It's kind of weird, like to think about back then, but it seemed like he was just very focused, and he was the same. It didn't matter if she had, the game-winning shot. Like, her mom would be high-fiving and cheering and so excited, and her dad would just be in the same position, leaning on the back of the bleachers, watching it, never change his face. So if I had to guess genetics, I think it would definitely come from her dad.
Thank you. I'll have to ask her about that.
Yeah, please do.
Our next question is with Joe Dandrin from the State News.
Hey Suzy, hope you're doing well. Michaela Kelly from Central Michigan is kind of their lead guard. She had a 30-point game against Michigan, I think 29 in the last game. Just how do you go about preparing for someone like that and defending kind of her? She's a senior, their lead guard.
Yeah, well, they have a great 1-2 punch in the guard. Well, really, all three kids. Michaela's a tough matchup, as you mentioned. She can certainly shoot the three ball. She can get to the rim. She's powerful. She rebounds. There's not a lot about her game that has a weakness to it. She's got tons of experience, and really is kind of taken over that senior role. She's led by a sophomore as well, and Molly Davis, and that kid's uniquely different but very similar in terms of their ability to score the ball. So I think, having two guards like that, and then you throw in their three-man who, I don't know if she's missed a shot in the last 3 years. The kid can really put the ball in the basket. So, their guard play, and then they've got some really tough matchups, So I think Michaela benefits from just being Michaela, but she also has some really great pieces around her. She has a 4-5 combination and Bustle that can pick and pop, that can pick and roll, that can post up. They have a 5-man that can power it up. So they just have a lot of pieces. And I think she does a really good job attacking always, and that's where it starts for her. And she really handles ball screen offense very well. Like, she loves to be in a ball screen, and she really can handle attacking off ball screens and making reads.
And kind of as a follow to that too, obviously you went to Central Michigan. So just how fun is it to get to play your alma mater? I think the last time that you guys saw them was in the NCAA tournament game.
Yep.
Down in South Bend.
Yep. Yeah, I don't like it. It's like I don't like to schedule people that have worked for me or I'm friends with either. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's a personal thing. And I think Heather's done an amazing job there, and certainly Sue before that. Kristen used to work there as well. Haney on my staff. She used to be an assistant at Central Michigan for a period of time, and then I played there. So there's a lot of us that have ties to Mount Pleasant, and that university is Central Michigan, and I think it made a big difference in all of our lives, certainly our career paths and opportunities. So it's tough for me. I don't like it. As you mentioned, the NCAA tournament, that was one we had to play. It's not one we scheduled. So, we're hoping that nothing happens and we get an opportunity to actually play this game on Friday.
Next out is Scott DeCamp with MLive.
Hey Suzy, Scott DeCamp with MLive in Muskegon. You mentioned Eliza earlier in this presser, and I wanted to follow up with a question on her and Dreke, both from Muskegon. They both started against Iowa. And what can you say for maybe the adversities or things they've had to overcome? Obviously, Eliza coming in as a freshman, having to pay her dues, learn everything, and then Dreke with the injuries she's overcome. What did they bring to your team, and what have they overcome to get to the spot they're in now?
Well, I think both of them have embraced a process. I think nowadays most people don't, it doesn't matter what it is, they don't want to embrace any kind of process. They want it instantly. And I know Eliza was frustrated last year with, having an opportunity to get minutes, and that's tough. I want to give everybody minutes, and we had 5 freshmen, but she also had not only Nia, but she had Tara McCutcheon, who was a 4-year starter for us, playing that position, that off-guard position, combo position. So, her opportunities were limited, but at the same time, she had to play well when she went out there, right? As your freshman, you got to go out there and kind of prove that you belong. And I think she really committed to her fitness level. And I've said this before, I think her conditioning, her motor really improved. She got in better shape. And I don't think you can be an elite player if you're not in elite condition. You can't be a good player if you're not in good condition, right? So she really embraced that this off season, spent a lot of time in the gym and worked and really embraced that part and the process and wanted to come back and prove something. And she has, obviously. Drika's the same way. I think she embraced the process too, and her journey has been a challenge. That kid is a really good player that has been sadly hampered by injuries. She's had ACL surgery that took her out for a season. She's had the compartmental syndrome right after her freshman year. We could only play her 8 minutes a game and only 60 to 90-second stretches when she did play. And then obviously this last year she tore her Achilles and had surgery the 1st of February. So she's not even 12 months out and is out here and committed. I think both of those kids, coming from Muskegon and just growing up in this state myself, I think there's just a blue collar mentality. If you know their folks, if you know Dreek's mom, Liza's parents, they believe in work and they believe in not backing down. And I think a lot of that comes from that environment. And then you throw in the tradition of Muskegon Big Reds, and I think you're looking at KG over there on the men's side and as an AD, and he's really brought that to some impressive places in basketball and certainly in football. They have tradition. So I'm blessed to have them both in the program, but I think a lot of that comes from their upbringing and certainly their ability to kind of prove people wrong.
Thanks, Suzy.
Sure.
Our next question is from Ryan Calloway.
Suzy, what's kind of the approach when you have a stretch like this where you have the 3 games in 5 days?
Well, it's kind of the COVID way, I guess. These things developed late in terms of timing. Like, for example, we were supposed to play Central, I think, earlier in November, like right when we first started playing, but something happened with scheduling wise, so we had to move the game. And that was while we were in November. So sometimes I feel like everybody says it, you have to be flexible and adaptable nowadays, especially during COVID. So we didn't have much of a choice. And then the Oakland thing was kind of the same thing. They had certain times they could play, and given our exam schedule, their exam schedule, and our original date, the only time they could play was right before Christmas. And so, two of the 3 games that we're playing, we kind of had to reschedule dates. We were playing them, but we just had to reschedule the dates. So some of this has to do with the COVID and the pandemic.
And just to follow up about Julia, just the confidence that she's playing with and the way that she's kind of come along with you guys.
Yeah, I think Julia has really benefited in a lot of ways from something called the weight room here. I know it sounds kind of silly, but she really has embraced getting stronger. And that's something that from her freshman year to her sophomore year was really, I think she could tell you the physicality of the Big Ten and the BCS level was uniquely different than the Grosse Pointe conference that she was in. So I think she recognized a weakness in herself and really embraced getting in the weight room. She loves Annalise. Annalise is an amazing strength and conditioning coach. And obviously on top of that, Annalise played the exact same position that Julia does for us, kind of that hybrid 4-3, 3-4. And so I think Annalise has been a major impact and made a major impact not only in her confidence, but certainly her ability even just to talk basketball with her. On top of that, Brian, she's really been in the gym shooting the ball a lot. I think she comes from a basketball family. When you're at home in a pandemic, there's not much else to do but go shoot hoops anyway. And her brother Joey is on our scout team and is actually in our antigen testing bubble. He was a manager last year for us, and so we kind of have 2 A-Rolls in the family, and that's been fun too, because I think she gets fired up about playing against her brother. I think the last brother combination I had was Tori Jankoska and her brother Jake. So things can get a little heated at times, but I think it brings out the competitive spirit in everybody when you see brother and sister going at it. It's kind of fun. Well, the men aren't going home, but yes, we have the opportunity. Michigan State's been able to kind of connect with our local folks, and because we've been antigen testing 6 out of 7 days, and we play on the 22nd, it's a short time that they're away. They're going to have to, they can go home, but I had a Zoom call last night with all the parents, just begging them like to have their kid wear a mask, like even in the home, even around them. You know, I just fundamentally, I had a hard time keeping them here at Christmas if we weren't going to be playing games. The men are actually physically playing on Christmas, as you know, on TV, so they have a little different program. I'm worried about it, but I think our kids, they mentally need this. They didn't have Thanksgiving. They've been in this bubble. They haven't been able to see their family. So I'm just, you know, I really had a great heart-to-heart with their parents. Their parents have embraced this process too, and I think you know, these kids will do the right thing, but they are going to go home, but they have to antigen test, or they have to have 3 negative tests, 26th, 27th, and 28th. And then if they are negative on the 28th, we can practice that day, and we play on the 31st. So it's pretty similar to what a normal year would be for us, except for the fact that, you know, they can't come back with the virus. That will be a problem. So it is a little bit of rolling the dice, I guess, but I don't know how I can keep them here. And then you add into the fact that the student athletes actually requested legislation last year where they had mandatory 3 days off at Christmas. And now that's been allegedly adjusted for whatever due to COVID and playing games. So you can tell that's a time of year they really need that break mentally. And even if they don't go home, some of them aren't going to go home, but they just want to be. They just want to relax for a little bit and just kind of catch their breath. So, you know, we'll say a prayer and hope for the best, but our kids have been really diligent, and I'm proud of them, and I just pray that they, you know, put these things on and, you know, travel safely, and the parents help us in this situation. I think they will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've got time for one final question from Zach from Impact.
Hi, Suzy.
Hi.
So, over the past couple games, we've seen a little bit of the growth that you were talking about with Janae when she first got back and knocking that rust off. And now with your other 2 transfers with the new NCAA ruling potentially being able to play for you guys soon, do you expect that same kind of process of knocking off the rust a little bit as things start?
Well, I think so a little bit, but I think Janae's was a little bit, she maybe had a little more rust because she had 2 months of being out with, she had surgery in October. So, you know, her rust probably came more from not being able to actually physically participate in practices. The other 2 transfers have been able to participate in practice this whole time, so I think that's a positive. I think theirs might be a little bit different than Janae's was, but you're right. I've seen a lot of growth in Janae, and you know, she's going to be fine. She just needs to spend a little more time, you know, getting that rust off. But the other 2, we're hopeful. I don't know, there's still another hoop to jump through for these kids with the Big Ten. So even though the waiver went through from the NCAA nationally, I guess there's another step for kids that like came from a Big Ten institution. So I don't know, we're waiting on that process too.
Okay, thank you, Coach. We'll have Julia Erup available in a couple minutes.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Suzy. Have a good day.
Okay, you guys, take care, stay safe. Thanks, Kara.
Thank you.
Juju's